says apply for accreditation. So you need to click on that button, which will take you on this page that you can see on the right, where you will select the level of accreditation that you are applying for. Then you click on the grey button, apply for accreditation. It means that once you've done that, your application will directly go to the borough officer and to TfL for checking. So once you've done that, it's done, it's gone. However, before doing that, we have a few things to do, make sure that it's all in order. So next slide, please, Sylvia. Before applying for accreditation, there's a few criteria. There's 4 actually. I'm going to go through them one by one, but quickly, first of all, you need to have set up 2 targets. You need to have taken at least 1 hands-up survey. Ava explained everything about them. You need to have submitted correctly the required numbers of stories. And if you're applying for gold and silver, you need to have a certain amount of mode shift achieved. Next slide, Sylvia. Thank you. So the first one is to set up 2 targets, relevant targets, within the current academic year. To do that, you need to go on the tab which says Issues and Target. And as you can see, you've got like blue buttons that says Add New Target. So you need to click in there, set up 2 targets with close dates in the future. And the relevant targets, they must aim to make travel to school safer, responsible, active, etc. And you can have them quite bespoke to what you think is important in your school. All right, once that is done, the next one, next slide, please. The next thing you need to do is, as Ava mentioned, you need to have taken a hands-up survey during this academic year. It's absolutely essential. And the survey must combine pupils and staff. If you have been taking more than 1 hands-up survey in this year, that's totally fine. But the one you will use for applying for accreditation needs to be marked as the nominated annual survey. I think Ava went over this already, but what makes an eligible hands-up survey is those 2 things. It must be taken during the academic year, so between September and July. And 90% of enrolled students must take part. So pick up a day where you have a lot of attendance at school. All right, next slide, please. Then the third thing that you need to do, you need to have submitted the required numbers of stories correctly. And basically, you need to have all those trackers that you can see complete. So if you are applying for bronze, you only need the tracker on the left, bronze, to be complete. Same for the others. And you can see the little dots when you have the color filled in. That means the activity is loaded in and approved. And if the little dots are still white, that means you still have some activities to log in. It's worth checking if you have some activities that show up in a pale color. It means that maybe they have not been approved yet, or maybe there is some information missing. So that is worth looking into it, because it might just be that you need to add some evidence and then that's it. The activity will count as complete and counts towards the accreditation. Next slide. Thank you. The last thing that you need to look at is mode shift achieved. It only applies if you're applying to gold and silver, but to apply for silver, basically you must demonstrate a shift away from car use of 1% or more. And to apply for gold, you must demonstrate a shift away from car use of 6% minimum, as Ava mentioned before. Or it could be as well, at least that 90% of the children travel sustainably in your school. In order to check if you have achieved the level of mode shift that is necessary, you need to generate a survey comparison report. And I'm going to show you quickly how to do it now. Next slide, please. So to do a survey comparison, you will need to use, as we mentioned, the nominated annual hands-up survey and compare it with your baseline hands-up survey. Your baseline survey is the very, very first survey that the school hasn't recorded on the TfL STARS website. So it's the first survey you've ever done. Even if it's really far away, that's the one you will use. And to do that, you will go in the Survey tab and click on the button Manage, which will allow you to choose the surveys you want to compare, to just tick them up. And then you will come out with a table that you can see on the right, where it will tell you the different amounts of active travel or car use in the 2 different years. And that's how you will be able to see whether you have achieved the sufficient mode shift to apply for silver and for gold. Right, next slide, please. So those were like the 4 things that you absolutely need to do before applying for accreditation. Just to finish, here are some easy wins activities for you to add if you haven't done so already. Basically, if you're missing a few activities to get your trackers complete, you've got, like, for example, walking trips. That is an easy activity. If pupils walk to, let's say, the swimming pool every week, you can use this as an activity. Or if they take public transport for school trips, that counts as an activity. If you had like a classroom moment, health benefits of active travel, that works. Road safety talks, or a good one also, communicating with parents if your school sends regular newsletters about active travel. All this counts as an activity that you can log in and will bring you closer to accreditation. Just bear in mind that all those activities, even though you're doing it several times in the year, they can only be added with a limit of 1 per academic year. Right, and last slide, I think. Next, yeah. Also, easy wins. If you participated recently in the big walk and wheel, you could easily add 6 stars activities just by participating. So check out the booster sheet that explains how. You will get the link in this presentation. We are coming into spring and summer, so you could have outdoor activities such as walk to school week, outdoor classroom day. And finally, just consider also including school staff in your active travel activities, like cycle to work scheme, cycle to work day, cycle skills for adults. All those activities, they count as a star story. So that might be really helpful to just help you complete those trackers and, yeah, get ready for accreditation. So I think that's all for me. I'm going to pass to someone else.
So I'll just be taking us through the Junior Travel Ambassador Scheme. I'm sure the slides will appear in a minute. But yeah, the Junior Travel Ambassador Scheme encourages safer, active and independent travel within schools. And the scheme involves by starting off by recruiting a team of enthusiastic Key Stage 2 pupils who promote active travel and road safety to peers throughout the school. I think we suggest a maximum group of 8 people and taking one pupil from each class from year 5 and 6. And the scheme can also help with the transition towards secondary school. TfL provides a range of resources that we'll go through later in a minute. But yeah, it should provide all the necessary support you need to run the JTA within the school. Oh, sorry, I'm still on the other slide. Yeah, run the JTA within the school, but a member of staff, will still need to be a JTA coordinator. And their job is to support the ambassadors and help them promote the active travel within their school community. And the schools who've been successful with this in the past have set up meetings with the JTA every term to plan their activities and host 1 to 2 assemblies each term, just to talk about what they're going to do and celebrate what they have done. And all of these also count as STARS activities that can be uploaded to the website, as well as being a really valuable resource for the school. The other thing we suggest is setting up a junior travel ambassador notice board, so somewhere visible within the school that we can share all the latest active travel news and promote current and future activity. The resources that are provided for the JTA, there's a couple of guides on the STARS website as well, and these should be shared with the junior ambassadors themselves, and it features a selection of activities that they can run and gives them good guidelines and appropriate times of the year to talk about different topics. There's also calendars and notes pages that can be printed off so the JTAs can plan their year together. There's also Think Tales of the Road resources that had road safety information that the junior travel ambassadors can use to plan their road safety assemblies. And we've just been told that the London Transport Museum have junior travel ambassador badge templates for schools if they have their own badge makers. That you can see them down there on the left. And we'll send around all these resources after the presentation today. And as I said earlier, we'll move on. So it does help towards your school's STARS accreditation, and it provides a really good focus to get the students involved to organise a range of activities throughout the year, all of which would count towards your STARS. And yeah, all of the activities within the JTA Ambassador Guide would count for your STARS. And by doing a lot of them, be a really good way of getting towards bronze accreditation. And if you do this over a number of years, you get significantly closer to reaching silver and gold. When you've established your schools group, it's a good idea to go through the STARS hand-up survey with the junior travel ambassadors and speak to other people, staff and parents to identify issues and set targets for the future. Make sure when you're planning these activities with the JTA that they know that they'll help the school reach their goals and contribute to the issues that you've identified earlier. It's also recommended to focus on road safety activities in the autumn term and beginning of the spring term as weather and daylight hours get a bit better. You can focus on more outdoor activities. Sorry, I completely said that wrong. But yeah, when it's darker, you can focus on road safety issues, and when it gets lighter, more active outdoor activities is generally what's suggested. And yeah, ask the JTA group to promote the planned activities, encourage them to share the success stories and assemblies, the school website and the newsletter. And remember, as I said before, all of these will count towards your STARS activities, and it's a great way to attain accreditation. And the final thing I'll say, it's great to set this up now, so it's ready for the beginning of next term. And even setting up now will count towards a further STARS activity. And hopefully I will be handing over to a school champion. Kerry?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Kerry. Thanks.
Thank you. Is my PowerPoint there, Sylvia? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So yeah, hi, my name's Kerry, and I work in a school in Rysips, the Sacred Heart, and I'm a Year 3 class teacher. We actually joined the JTA scheme at the end of January 2020. Unfortunately, we went into lockdown a few months later, so it's been a bit of a bumpy road for us with COVID. But the JTAs at Sacred Heart have worked really enthusiastically to try and get as much sort of different things into our school and promote active travel. So I thought I'd just share a few sort of things that we've been doing at Sacred Heart, and I've sort of picked the ones that I feel best sort of suit where they were driven by the JTAs. So we were actually very lucky at the beginning to take part in a funding scheme in February 2020. At the time, we had actually picked Year 4 students to be our JTAs because we weren't sure how far we were going to get because we started in January, and we thought we'd roll them over into Year 5, so we sort of used them to train up. But anyway, they were only Year 4 at the time, and basically we met that week and we discussed what they basically wanted to bring into Sacred Heart, like what did they want to change. And we basically went to an event called Dragon's Den. It's a really, really good event. And actually it brought on their confidence so much. It was probably one of the best events that we've been to. And they decided to pick that they wanted to bring in a walk-in scheme into our school and basically have an active travel trophy, one for the infants and one for the juniors, which they would then award to the classes with most active travel. I personally think taking on the pitch so early on actually really benefited our JTA